Sally here again for Small Business Digest. You know, I have some interesting guests, people tell me, but one I'm really looking forward today is Meghan Bennett. Megan, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, Megan, as we ask all our uh, guests, first tell us a little bit about yourself, then about your company, and finally a website, and then we'll go
Great.
from
Oh,
there.
perfect. Well, my name's Meghan Bennett. I'm 42 years old. I have a public relations firm called Light Years Ahead, and it's a boutique PR firm, but we are based across the country. I actually live in Kansas City, and then we have my business partner is based in New York City, and we have some other people across the country that work with us as well. We're women based. I am a mom and a wife, and I have two children. And yeah, PR is my life. It's not only my job, but it's also my hobby. It's my passion. And you can check out my website. It's lightyearsahead.com, www.light, L-I-G-H-T, years, Y-E-A-R-S, ahead, AHEAD.com.
Okay. Megan, what I always like to ask guests like you, the first question, my audience is small businesses. And some people say, why do we need PR? And others will say, we swear by it. My question to you, first one is, why, why a small business should have PR?
I mean, I think that PR is the best bang for your budget. Like it is, if you're a small company and you have no exposure, nobody knows about your company, the best way to spend those dollars, if you have any marketing dollars, is PR, because you might get like, 5 to 10 placements in 1 month from PR hits, from the media testing your product or trying it, covering it in an authentic way, where you might spend the same amount of money for one advertisement that's paid for. So you just get more. And it's not only that you get more, it's that you get that like brand awareness that's built because you're getting the editors giving their own opinions about your product. So you know it's authentic and it's not paid for.
I
So
always
I think that any small business should look into it if they have any kind of a budget to do that, or do it themselves.
I always call it a third party endorsement, but that's me. But now,
Yeah.
now let's talk about your company. My first question is why did you go in and start your own company?
Well, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I started it right out of college. It was like my second job out of college. And I don't know, it was my passion. And it was a small group. And I worked for the founder of the company, who was like my mentor when I started. I worked out of her office for 8 years in Los Angeles. And then she said to me, one day when I'm kind of ready to move on, I'm going to have you take over this business. And so that's how it happened. And it's been 3 years of my business partner and I running the company, and we love it, and things have been going great. And it's just, I wouldn't do anything else.
Well, let's talk about what is PR and what are the outlets that you look for for well, let's back up and ask a question. What are some of the types of clients you have?
Yeah. So we are a boutique public relations firm. And like you said, public relations is getting that third party endorsement from the movers and shakers, which are the media. We specialize in really anything that has to do with lifestyle, health, beauty, grooming, fitness, technology. We do it all. And we represent, personal consumer products along with services and experts. So we have everything from a line of clean skincare that we represent to a meditation expert composer that travels all over the world performing live. So, we kind of do it all. As long as there's a story, we will represent it.
Well, how do you find out a story? I come to you, I'm a new client. What are some of the questions I should be asking you, and what are some of the questions you ask me?
I mean, I think the first question I would ask you is like, what is your elevator pitch? What is great about your product or service? What makes you different? What's your point of difference? That's the first thing, because, we've talked to numerous products before where they're like, for example, I'm a skincare brand. I'm a clean skincare line. Well, what makes you clean? I don't know. I'll have to check the ingredients. Well, is there a story behind how you started the brand? No, so it's like, that's our job, is to spin that story and to build it. Now, luckily, we've come across most brands. They do have a good background and they have a story that it's not just about the product and what the product does, but it's about how they created the product, why it's different, how they thought this up, their aha moment. And if you sell the story of the founder or the company that created the product, it does help to push the product through to get more brand awareness than just pitching a product with no story behind why it was founded.
Well, what types of questions should I be asking you as the person looking for an agency?
Well, this is one question that everybody asks us. They always say, well, what can you guarantee us? And I always say nothing. I never guarantee anything. If you want to guarantee, go buy an ad, because that's guaranteed. But all I can guarantee you is that I'm going to do my best to work my damnedest and my hardest to stalk the media and get really good placements for you and help you build brand awareness. That's what I guarantee. The next question is like, how are you going to manage this brand? Do you think that this is something that you can handle, that you have experience with? And I'm always honest. If I think it's something, even if I don't have experience with it, if I think it's something that has a good hook or a good story, then I can still find a way to promote it. So those are the kind of questions. And also, you want to ask your PR firm, what kind of attention am I going to be getting? If it's a bigger firm, you might not get that hand holding and the babysitting that you want, that you would get from a firm like mine that's boutique, where like we treat every client like they're our own, because we work with entrepreneurs and people who are like doing startups and trying to build their brand. So that's like our favorite. That's our sweet spot, is working with those entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of different questions. You have to ask a firm before you start. Who will I be dealing with? Most PR firms, they have a point person or an account manager. We don't do that because we're a small firm. And so we all handle all the accounts together so that nobody gets burned out pitching something. Because, if you're pitching a brand or a product every week, the media might get sick of hearing from the same person. So we alternate and, we take turns pitching. And then if somebody reaches out with a question, we all know what's going on. So it's just like a different way to handle. Most PR firms don't do it the way that we do it.
Your website again for our audience?
lightyearsahead.com.
How did you come up with that name?
It was actually started by the founder. Her name is Betty Light. And so it was just like a catchy name that, she thought would be perfect for a PR firm. And so we kept the name. And, I worked with Betty for actually it's been 20 years now. And so that's how we got the name. Yeah.
Okay. So, we're sitting here, and I'm the other side of the coin. I'm the person you would normally pitch at. But do you do research as to? I get a lot of pitches which are totally out of my wheelhouse, and how they got my name, I don't know. But what do you do to focus down your efforts to identify a media match to your client?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time. So luckily, I've been fortunate to have really good lists that I've built over the years. But it's like a revolving door in the world of media right now. People are like leaving and moving to different places and becoming freelance. And so what we do is, and most PR firms do this, we subscribe to a service that keeps us up to date on all the contacts, all the email addresses. If somebody leaves, if somebody has a story, it's called Muckrack, and it's been great. So it's a database where, say that we have a client that wants us to focus on all beauty media, beauty websites. We do a search and look it up, and it pulls up a database of all the top beauty editors. So and then we look at it that way and go through it. So it's actually a pretty tedious process, but it's simple in the way that it's like an algorithm that pulls everything up for us.
Muckrack. I've never heard of
Uh-huh.
it.
I'm sure you've heard of Cision though, right?
Yeah.
Cision is the one. Yeah.
Okay.
We did Cision for years and we switched over to Muckrack this year because it seems to be a little bit more up to date with the contacts.
Well, that decision has been a long time a source for me. But anyway,
Me too, 18 years. So, I mean, I used it for years and just switched over, or maybe 19 years. And it's very, very similar the way that it does stuff, but you know, I think it's a little bit different in the fact that I think the contacts are more current. But
well, you have a client and you get them on a show like mine. How do you prepare them for a show for an interview, whether it's a newspaper interview or a TV interview? What do you do, and what are some of the things that you find that people don't do that they should be doing when they're put in that position?
well, it just depends on the client and the budget. Like if it's a client that's with a bigger company and they have no clue how to talk to the media, we'll set them up with a media trainer to do like a couple of sessions with the media trainer because then you're working for hours and being quizzed. But for most of our clients, we have a Q&A with them when we first start and we ask them all these questions. And then we create like a very strong background or in bio that they can use as a guideline. And then before they have interviews, at least the first few times we have a talk with them and go through stuff and ask them potential questions and just help them to be calm and make sure that they talk to us the way that, or they talk to the media the way that, they talk to us, that they're comfortable. Because I think that one of the main problems with clients is they get really nervous to do
Yes.
interviews and to talk to media. And I tell them, it's just like talking to us. This is your baby and you have to treat it as such, that you're talking about your child. So it's just practice. And I do tell my clients that the more interviews that they do, it gets easier. It's like riding a bike. Once you've done one, then like the sound bites stick in your head and then you just can keep doing more and more and it gets easier and easier.
Yeah, but the question is, sometimes we run into somebody that says, well, I can't talk about that because it's company confidential, and I can't
Mhm.
talk about that, etc. What do you do when you have someone like that?
I mean, when they say that, sometimes, okay, well, it's interesting because if I have a client that really wants to get, in the Wall Street Journal or something, I tell them, if you want to be in the Wall Street Journal, you have to be willing to divulge that information because otherwise they're not going to cover you if you're not willing to, you know what I mean? It's like, but the ones that absolutely cannot give that information, we talk to them about ways to redirect the question and sort of turn it around and change the subject and say, actually, let's talk about this because this is something that I think that your listeners really need to know about. So it's sort of that redirection. It's almost like treating it the way that you would with a hyperactive kid where, where you can't get them to do anything or they're upset. You just redirect. And that's the same thing that you do in the media.
Hmm. Does being a mom help you in PR?
Yes, because my kids are crazy, they're wild, and they keep me on my toes. And so when things happen with clients, I'm always like, that's nothing compared to what my kid did yesterday or whatever. It makes me a lot more empathetic towards people as well. And it's helped me as far as getting new clients too, just because it's opened a whole new world of products for me. When I had my kids, I was all about pitching parenting, maternity, infant products. And so we got into that sector. So it's opened up a world of enlightenment to me. I feel like I understand moms better when I'm pitching to them. And so it just gives me like that advantage of being a mom.
How old are they?
They are, well, now 9 and 11 tomorrow. So yeah, two girls. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Hoping one of them will be my intern at one point.
Well, if you were in California, how did you end up in Kansas City?
I'm actually from Kansas City and went to college on the East Coast and then moved to LA after college for 11 years and then moved back here. Yeah,
okay.
with the family. So,
well,
yeah.
I can't think of many better places than Kansas City, in my view.
Great cost of living and everybody's nice. And there's just really nothing negative I can say about it besides the weather.
Well, having said that, What are some of the problems that you as a PR person face against the media?
I would say that one of the first challenges that I would say that we've come up with the past few years is that most of the mainstream media, at least the digital media, they have affiliate programs now. And so they want you to be a part of an affiliate in order for them to cover you. So, for example, I don't know, one of our clients is a deodorant. So say that the deodorant is being sold on their personal website. Some of these magazines and websites like that work for Hearst.com, let's say BuzzFeed, or let's say there's BuzzFeed, there is Self, Shape. I'm just giving examples, but all these different media outlets are now trying to make money by having affiliates that they connect to, so that say that I pitch my deodorant to one of these outlets, they're going to say, we can't cover you unless you're sold on X, Y, and Z affiliate program. Skim links, share a sale. They want you to do these different affiliates, or Amazon. A lot of the times they say you have to be on Amazon or we can't cover you. And the reason that they want you to be on those affiliates is because when they cover your brand and they link to that affiliate and somebody buys the product, then the magazine or the media outlet gets a percentage of sales. So it incentivizes them. It keeps the magazines healthy where they're making money. And so it's like a win-win for them. But it's been challenging for me because some of my clients, the pricing isn't right, or they'll lose money if they go through the affiliate program. And then they miss out on some big national coverage because they don't have an affiliate.
Hmm.
So that's one challenge I would say is you know, it's something that's happened the past couple years. Another thing is that more and more websites and magazines, at least with that I've had in my experience, are asking, to pay for play. They want you to pay if you get some kind of coverage, especially magazines. I mean, if when people tell me that they want to be, an InStyle or People, I'm like, that's great. Are you John Frieda Frizzy's Solutions, where you have 5 ads in their magazine? Because then you'll get in. But if you're not advertising, it's very hard to get into print. It definitely happens. And we've had 2 clients in People magazine. I'm just saying that it's much more of a struggle if you don't have an ad in there to get into print these days. So I would say those are the main challenges that I've seen, just like, that have been thrown into the whole challenge of PR. But other than that, I mean, I get the daily media asking me to not reach out to them and stop contacting them and please stop emailing me. And I see it more as, it's a challenge, but it just incentivizes me more to try harder and to get somebody else from their outlet to cover. So when somebody says no, I think of it as a yes when it comes to pitching.
Because the sale begins when the customer says no.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. See, that's the other thing, which I don't understand. I'll get some people will hit me 3 or 4 or 5 times until finally I almost have to have their person on the show, if nothing else, to shut them up. But it also tells me that they're really pushing for their client. And there are other people that throw it out there and then go away. Well,
Yeah, that's not us. We're the first. And then, and like I said, sometimes they'll say, please stop contacting me. But then they say that, but then, come 6 months later when they need a specific product, they know who to contact because we've stalked them so many times that they just immediately say, oh my gosh, I know who to call for this one. So it works, at least in the world of PR.
Well, I believe you shouldn't say no, stop.
Yeah.
But that's me. But then again, I've been on the other side.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes left. What would you like to talk about? I've been hitting you.
I guess that I'd like to talk about, if you are a brand and you're starting your company and you want to find ways to, promote your brand. And if you don't have the budget to hire a PR firm, I just thought I could maybe give a few tips of what you should do. First of all, rethink that and reach out to me so you can hire me. No, the first tip I would say is to write a really, really, really compelling pitch about your brand. If you have a new product that you're, getting out there to the media, the first thing to do is write a short email with like a paragraph, and whatever you're trying to say should be in the first 2 sentences of your pitch, because most media does not want to read anything beyond that. Also include a really compelling picture that either shows you, your product, or whatever you're trying to convey. I wouldn't use like, Shutterstock images. I would use product images, whatever you're trying to pitch. And the other thing is make sure that your subject line is really provocative, because if it's not, nobody's going to open it, or they're going to think it's spam. The next thing I would do is subscribe to a service like Muckrack or Cision, because you pay, I don't know, I think it's like $5,000 a year, but that gives you a database of all of the media to reach out to, and it's constantly being updated so you can do it yourself. It's tedious, it's hard work. And, if you have the budget, hiring a PR firm to do it is the way to go, because that gives you time to focus on the other things that you can. But I'm just giving these tips in case you want to do it in-house. The next thing to do is to send out that pitch, not once, not twice. I would do it at least 4 times within the first 6 weeks. Check in every week and a half, 2 weeks, circle back, because eventually, like we just talked about, they're going to cover you. I think the follow-up is the number one thing. It's just continuing to follow up. If they try one of your products or they do an interview, you just keep reaching out to find out when it's going to happen, because sometimes they forget. So if you reach out, it like reminds them, oh, I have to do this story right now. And I guess just do your research, know who you're reaching out to. One way to find out media is, if like, we can go back to the deodorant example. If you have a new deodorant you're launching, go look on Google, set up a Google search for clean deodorant, so that every day you're going to get an alert in your inbox of all the articles that the media have covered about clean deodorant. Then you know what media is writing about the type of product that you're trying to promote. And those are kind of the first tips I would say to, doing it yourself. It's a process, and it takes a while to really get used to it. And it takes a certain personality too, somebody that, doesn't take no for an answer. But if you have all those things together, all those ingredients, then that makes for a really good publicist.
Okay, let me go back to what do you typically charge for a new client?
It really depends on the scope of work. I mean, our minimum right now, it starts at $3,500, and we were kind of going a little bit lower during COVID, but now that yes, COVID's still happening, but people are back in action. Everybody's working from home, but it also can go up depending on, the brand and how big the company is and how many products.
$3,500 a month.
Yes.
Okay.
Depending on what the scope of, it depends. If it's a bigger company, it's going to be more than that, but it really just depends on the scope of work.
Well, most of my audience are under 50 employees, so that's our sweet spot. We have your website again for our audience.
Lightyearsahead.com, lightyearsahead.com.
Okay. Well, we again have 1 minute left. What would you like? You have the last word.
The last word is, if you have a product or service, or if you need PR for yourself and you're trying to, get to the media, reach out, call me, email me, I'll help you, I'll give you advice. And you can't lose anything working with me. So that's my advice. And my other advice is if you can't do it, find a way to do your own PR, because it's the most important way to promote a brand authentically.
Meghan Bennett, thank you so much for a really informative time. Thank you.
You're welcome.